right. Hello everybody. I have sent off a
Hello.
tweet. I have to go post this nonsense on like 5 million discords real quick.
Yeah.
But we can start talking. Why don't we just start with whatever movie you want that we don't watched that we were talking about. Go ahead.
Whatever movie I want that we watch. Well, Limelight, I guess.
Okay. Limelight is an interesting story, semi-autobiographical of Charlie Chaplin. He basically is a fading vaudeville star. Christ, can't think of the word
Mhm.
vaudeville. And he happens upon a lady who is committing suicide, and he saves her. And a bond forms between them, and then this movie happens. Anyway, that's the setup of the movie.
Mhm.
Uh,
And actually, in a lot of ways, and it came out around the same time as these movies. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of Sunset Boulevard
oh yeah.
and of The Apartment as well. Both Billy Wilder films, I might add.
Oh, that's a good
But I
point.
mean, in The Apartment, they have a character like a woman who is trying to commit suicide at one point, and she gets I don't know if I'd say involved, but she gets involved with Jack Lemmon's character, and then and Billy Wild or not Billy Wilder, uh,
Getting yourself
brain
confused.
brain failing me here. In Sunset Boulevard, it's much the same kind of thing happens. A guy ends up bumbling his way into a relationship with an aging actress who was known for her roles in the silent films,
And
and
that
she's
film is
very upset about the talkies, so to speak. So
interesting
there are
enough.
elements of both movies that kind of fit into this movie.
Boulevard, interestingly enough, is a link between noir and horror through because it is an informing movie for the Grand Dame Guignol genre, actually.
Mm, yeah,
So, and that's horror, and so it's just another connection of where I say, guess what? In case you didn't notice, horror and noir are directly linked, and not
there are
by a
many
straight line.
links.
Oh yeah,
There are
many of
many
them.
links to horror noir. It's so
Horror
awesome.
can be linked to most genres because it talks about our society in ways that other movies tend to not be able to.
Fritz Long used to work on, and he did like the fucking sets uh, some of the most classic and beloved
Silent films.
German silent films. Not just any silent films, German expressionist films.
Caligari, I believe
German
he
ex-
worked specifically on sets.
I think so.
Yeah.
But and the Golem.
Oh yeah, and
But
Golem. Yeah, I'd love to see the Golem. I've never actually gotten a chance to see it. So
he uh, he worked on the sets for those, which means like he worked on the aspects of those films that
he's
would
a
then later go on to inspire both film noir and horror films. They inspired Dracula almost directly. One of the people who worked on their Golem went on to do like the cinematography for Dracula, 1931.
not including the
Like
fact that
same exact person.
there's
So
also a Vampire, a silent film that's basically just
yes,
Dracula.
very much
Carmilla.
inspired
Yeah,
by German expressionism in that film as
100%.
well.
Yeah,
Um,
I actually have
but
Vampire. I
the,
haven't
the
watched it
links
yet.
between the two are very clear and obvious. Like, well, no, I wouldn't say obvious, but
I think it's pretty obvious
once you look close enough, you can
with
see the links pretty easily.
you research both genres enough, you can see the links. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. But anyways,
Oh, I put this in the wrong
regarding
spot.
Limelight, I was just saying, kind of reminds me of those two Billy Wilder movies in some ways because I feel like he's talking about his own experiences to a certain extent, the experiences maybe of people that he knows and loves in the industry,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, it's very when she says that it's you didn't say self-referential, you said what was the word you used? Semi-autobiographical. Yes.
Semi-autobiographical. It's not 100%
Yeah.
autobiographical. It's interesting. He was linked it.
That's
So
she's talking about that.
the way the trivia said it when I was watching the movie, because I like to do that sometimes. If I find myself drifting, I'll read some trivia to get myself back into the movie. Like it just it add techniques to get me in, keep me in the movie. But like in one of the trivia bits, it talks about how like the film existed before he had his own problems. It's just that like as time goes on, as time went on, his career went on, and he finally did Limelight. It just happened to be happening to him while he was doing Limelight, that same stuff. So it wasn't like intentionally autobiographical. It just ended up being autobiographical, like art mimicking life, life mimicking art, as it may be.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's still really. I mean, it feels very much like Chaplin's film, and this is actually the work of an auteur. Chaplin's an auteur in this film because filmmaker, because he's basically doing everything.
Yeah.
This and King of New York. No, not King of New York. It's not New York. His last film he did that everyone hates for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know why. Because this is really a great movie. I feel like it's probably one of the best movies I've ever seen. It's one of those
Damn.
classics that is very much worth checking out if you love
It's in
movies.
the
You know?
Criterion Collection, so that'll tell you something. Though
Yeah.
not really, because The Rock's also in the Criterion Collection. I think he pointed that out. I mean, I like the movie, but it's not. I wouldn't say The Rock and Armageddon are Criterion level movies. You know what I mean? But they're there. They're in
Yeah.
the collection. Whatever.
And yet there they are.
I'd
Yeah.
re-release movies on Blu-ray that replace those numbers and just never mention the DVDs ever again for the movies they can't re-release. Anyway, next we would have we did Badlands. Anything you want to talk about Badlands? I think
Um,
I didn't really connect with this one. I'm really honest with you. I think this is Malik's weakest that I've seen so far.
I appreciate it as a film that went on to inspire a lot of other movies afterward,
It's
like
clearly
Natural Born
and it's
Killers.
clearly inspired by Bonnie and Clyde. You said during this while we were watching.
Yes, in and of itself, it is inspired by Bonnie and Clyde,
Mm-hmm.
but uh, you don't get from Bonnie and Clyde to Natural Born Killers without Badlands. Is what I'm saying.
Correct. Oh,
This
absolutely.
is an
I agree.
essential film in that genre
I would
or
say
subgenre.
another connecting piece. It would be Man Bites Dog, which is like kind of like a mockumentary type film, but it deals with spree killers also.
Because there are a lot of elements to this movie that like naturally draw you to the conclusion slowly but surely that the people that you're being introduced to are not normal, that they do have some issues. We don't know what their issues are, but they're definitely not normal. They don't see the world in a normal way, and that there's nothing inherently wrong with that. For the first 30 or so minutes of the movie, you're like, well, that's a little bit of a strange thing to do or say, but whatever. It doesn't say anything about them, and then certain things start to happen that they start doing that show that like, oh, these people are like socially inept. They have no concept of how to interact with people, or right or wrong, let alone caring about either of those things. So it's interesting because in that way it kind of reminds me of a Peck and Paw movie, because Peck and Paw would very much talk about society from the point of view of like people who are antisocial, you know, just having a very dim view of humanity and society in general.
Yeah, and I would say perhaps some oppositional defiance disorder in the main character. He actively does things people tell him not to do just to spite those people. Feels like.
Yes. Another thing I would say is that this is one of his earliest films, right? It was Terrence Malick's earliest films, and there are really only a few flourishes, I would say, in this movie that are uh, styles of filmmaking that you would end up seeing in his other movies later,
I think his
right?
other films definitely
There's
show a
this
maturation in his
there's
filmmaking.
this moment when the house is burning down and the shots of the house burning down are very Terrence Malick.
Very.
It's it's exactly the kind of thing you would expect to see from a Terrence Malick film. But the way he shoots everything else in the movie, or not everything else, but most of the other stuff in the movie is not very Terrence Malick. It's like he hasn't really gotten his feet wet yet, so to speak. And this is him kind of trying to spread his wings a bit, I guess. Figure
Um,
out what he wants to do and say with movies.
I feel like Sissy Spacek may have been actually miscast in this. I know that's controversial, but I just it just I don't know. It just
I
feel
didn't
like her
bother him this
character.
much.
I don't know. This feel. I don't know. I don't know how to say this without being rude. I don't feel like Spacek has the right range for this. Not that she's a bad actress. I just feel like I don't know. I felt like I did not feel like her character was genuine most of the movie. It felt like someone playing the character, right? So I don't know.
I don't know. I felt like her. To me, the character is someone who is aloof, has a very uh, poor understanding of humanity and society, only based upon like what her father tells her about what her parents tell her about the world. And so she's very closed off and doesn't understand what anything is like. And because of that, she's got some issues, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And um, the fact that she shows very little emotion throughout the film, I think, is also intentional, you know?
Hmm.
And that's the thing. It's like, I can see how that could come across as something that, like, is bad acting, but it's like, no,
Not
I'm
bad
sure
acting.
Terrence Malick.
Not bad acting. I feel like she just didn't feel like she fit the tone of the character that they were going
But,
for. That's
but
not
what
necessarily
if,
her fault. That's just
but what if what you're saying, but what I guess what I'm saying is, I think maybe that what you wanted to see out of the character was not what the character was intended to be.
I mean, I understand that, of
But I
course.
don't know. I could be the one who's
I'm
that could be the case
I'm
for me,
saying I
you
don't
know?
feel like while watching it the dialogue, like I don't know. There's something about her character that just doesn't click with me. And so I think let's see. I think he gave this like only a 7 out of 10, which I think is the lowest
Yeah.
I've given a Malik ever. Yeah, I gave it a oh, I gave it 8 out of 10. I was a little generous. I think it's a little generous. I think it's actually a really strong 7 out of 10. But I rated it 8, and if I rewatch it,
Another one
maybe
in
I'll
the
change it.
Criterion collection.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
It I think it's definitely worth watching at least once again, just to
Absolutely.
like see early Terrence Malick and kind of see where some of the ideas came from for the way he would shoot other films after that, and just to see one of the movies that inspired movies like Natural Born Killers and whatnot,
And
spree killer
and
movies.
once again, I don't think like it's a bad movie in any shape. I just don't think it's as successful in its film. You know what I mean? It's not as successful as portraying the ideas contained within as Malick's other films. It's
Yeah,
less.
I
It's
really
not
do
as
like Martin Sheen's role, though. I think
yes.
he was
Oh God,
perfectly
yes.
cast.
He shines
Like,
in this. I think this is actually. I know. I'm kind of. I think this is actually better than Apocalypse Now. Like his role. I mean.
he feels very James Dean in this, and I'm sure that's intentional.
Yes, that's right. He does feel incredibly James Dean. Sorry.
I'm sure that's intentional because even then, in the early '70s, they were trying
Shirts,
to
wears a shirt with the fucking
capture that.
cigarettes and the in the shorts. I mean, pants. I
Yeah,
mean, you just watched Rebel Without a Cause. You know, it
yeah, I
literally.
know, I
You
know.
you probably went and go, God damn, he really is being James Dean.
It's true. Anyways, what do we watch next?
Cocaine Cowboys, The Kings of Miami, which is a
Oh
miniseries,
yeah,
6 episode miniseries
yeah,
on
the
HBO.
the life. Oh my god, that fucking song.
I hate that
The
song.
the song that they play before each episode is
Yeah.
just really terrible.
All right,
But
so this is a Billy Corben documentary. We have a long history with Mr. Corben's documentaries. We've seen more than half of them. We still need to see Screwball and Raw Deal and Limelight, but like,
For the
and
love of
we're
blood
missing
sport.
Cocaine Cowboys Reloaded. But we saw Cocaine Cowboys 1 and 2, and now we've seen this. And we know that Cocaine Cowboys Reloaded is basically the leftover materials from 1 and 2 that weren't used. We haven't gotten around to watching it. I think it's just because it hasn't been streaming. That's the biggest problem right
Yeah.
now.
I think the
It's on
craziest thing about
Tubi.
all these Cocaine
Mm,
Cowboys documentaries is just that
so good.
every single time I think to myself, like, wow, that's one of the craziest stories I've ever heard.
I know!
And it makes me think to myself, like, I guess but there were only like a few examples of that. There could only ever be a few examples of that happening in South Florida, right? But they keep coming out with more and more documentaries, and it's suddenly becoming very clear to me there were a lot of stories like this. A lot of stories like
Yeah.
this in the Miami area and
In the
whatnot
80s and early 90s, yeah.
in the 80s, and I had no fucking clue. I had no fucking clue. I knew that there was a lot of like that the 80s were actually like the highest period of crime in U.S. history ever.
Yeah.
Um,
Because there was
and
a
that's part
proliferation
of the
of
reason. Yeah,
automatic weapons
and drugs,
and
access to
drugs.
drugs.
There's a bunch of new drugs, designer drugs, and cocaine and crack, and like there was all these
Yeah.
other drugs. There was just so many more different drugs out there. The war on drugs is a
But
fool's.
you think to yourself, like, okay, so this is the story of the drug lord, the kingpin, the main head honcho, and you don't realize apparently there were dozens upon dozens of fucking head honchos and
In this
kingpins and
particular
whatnot.
group, there's like 5 or 6 people, and they're all childhood friends or
Yeah,
siblings in some cases. There's a few siblings, some cousins, etc. Right?
you
Uh,
genuinely get the feeling that like you couldn't talk to a group of people in Miami at any time in the 80s without at least one of them having been involved in the drug business.
yeah,
You
as
know,
a low anywhere along the
grab any
line.
10 people and boom, one of them's involved somewhere.
I mean, like there were like shootouts in parking lots. That was a big part about the first
Mhm.
one, was they talked about there's just a lot of like reenactments, like shootouts and like all sorts of like one they're like there's an escape from a hospital with Uzis or something like that, and one of them like it was like this is some wild ass shit. And number two is about Gisela Blanco, the drug queen or whatever.
Mhm.
I don't like I said, I don't exactly know what contents are reloaded. it's on like Tubi with ads. Maybe we should just watch it one of these days.
Oh
I'll
boy.
stream it to you or whatever.
Ah,
Are you okay?
yes, I'm fine.
What
the it was frozen.
today?
The pressure of the ice just
It was frozen today. Okay, so yeah, Kings of Miami is about this group of friends who, and it's like 6 episodes, and they talk about how slowly one by one they were taken down, and one guy may or may not have escaped. Him and his family disappeared. Whether they got away or were murdered, we don't know. But yeah, and it actually
based on
takes place chronologically right after part two. So like it literally jumps from Gisela Blanco to right into this. So sorry.
based on what we know about some of the other people involved with that same drug business. I would have to estimate that chances are they are either still somewhere in Miami right now, within like an hour's drive, maybe in Orlando, maybe in
Yeah, they found
Kissimmee,
like
who knows?
that one guy was
Uh,
hiding for like years just down the street from where he used to
yeah,
live.
yeah,
Uh,
or they're in LA. You know, it's one of
yeah,
the two.
they're like in some other state.
Yeah,
I mean, it's one of those things. It's like I it's just it's wild. They're talking about like there's so much money that they couldn't clean enough of it, so they literally had like attics full of and crawl spaces full of money, boxes of money and stuff. And I was like, damn, dude. Anyway,
yeah.
so We highly recommend those documentaries by Billy Corbin.
Yeah, they're good fun. I
Uh,
wouldn't say they're the best documentaries ever, but they're serviceable, and I learn a lot of things about a subject I know very little about
we're
watching.
we're
So,
skipping the star of the show and saving that for last. And we're going on to the Day of the Beast,
El Dia de la Besta.
which we watched the Joe Bob's Last Drive-In version on Shutter. You should get Shutter. It's the best streaming service out there for the best bang for your buck too.
Yes.
It's one of the cheaper ones, and it's got a great, and I mean a great selection of classic and modern horror. I am not in any way affiliated with them. I just genuinely enjoy their service. This is not an ad. You're welcome. Anyway, he described this movie as Mission Impossible with Satan. So a priest finds out that the Antichrist will be born tonight, and so he tries to sin a bunch so he can meet the devil, so he can go undercover, so the devil will take him to the Antichrist, so he can kill the Antichrist. That's literally the premise of the entire movie. What is witnessed in the film is strange, idiosyncratic, beautiful, weird, horrific, blasphemous,
Memorable.
memorable. Goats walking on their hind legs. Good shit. That was some
Uh,
weird ass scene.
Naked old men for no particular reason.
Yep.
The
The plot is kind of
moments of
incomprehensible. I just like events started happening and the character was in the events and that was it. And that was the movie. It's hard to explain. It's a ride. It's
I loved it.
can you
There's
explain
just
it
so
at
much
all?
going on in this.
Could you begin to describe
Um,
what happens in the movie in any degree?
Not better than you already did. I mean, the thing is, the priest is, like you said, he's trying to stop the end of the world because he's realized through doing the fucking numerology and shit, which is obviously
Bullshit.
BS, but
Yeah.
whatever, it's a movie.
Mm.
Um, he's like, oh shit, the end of the world is tonight. I have to stop it. And so he's on this crusade, personal crusade to stop it. And he thinks that if he sins and does bad things, that he'll be uh,
Oh,
getting ingratiating himself with the fucking devil.
I remember
And then
now.
he'll be able to get close to the devil and fucking stop him. And um, along the way, he ends up meeting up with a bunch of people. Not a
He
bunch, I would say,
kidnaps
but a
that
couple of
guy.
people.
He kidnaps the one guy, the Satanist from
Yeah.
TV.
Yes, yes. Well, I don't know if I'd. Well, at one point, eventually he does kidnap him, but I mean, he literally goes to the guy's apartment, or I guess it would be condo,
Dude was under duress the
and
whole time. That's my point.
yeah, he confines him there for a
Mm-hmm.
long time, um, until that guy like essentially gives in and believes that this priest is actually not lying, he's telling the truth. Finally realizes, oh shit, this is actually happening.
Oh
The
shit!
world actually is about to end. Oh fuck. Oh, by the way, this is a Christmas movie. Uh,
It is actually a Christmas movie, because it's Christmas Eve when this is all happening.
mhm. Um,
Because of
but what
course,
I
Satan would rise. Satan, the Antichrist would rise on a day in which Christ wasn't actually born. It's just the day it's ceremonially chosen to overwrite the
yes,
previous pagan holiday. They were trying to
yeah,
absorb that religion
that
into them.
unironically does make sense. I mean,
I
it
guess.
does make sense. Um, but I love that one of the buddies that this priest starts hanging out with is this fucking heavy metal dude
Oh yes, that guy's so
who
just gung ho from the beginning. It's like okay,
who's like seemingly constantly either high or drunk or both.
probably both.
And at one point, he drops acid while right before it kicks in right before or right as he has to go out on the scaffolding of the building to try and escape the devil, I guess. And he doesn't realize where he is, so he ends up trying to jump off of the building, and they keep having to save him
Yeah.
as he's trying to jump off. It's just like it's perfect, beautiful horror comedy. It
It's
really is.
chaos in beauty.
It's complete chaos, and yeah, I love it because it's just so fucking. It's a very what the fuck movie, but an entertaining what the fuck
It's never
movie.
boring, not for a single fucking
Never
second.
boring. Yeah,
Not for a single
there's
second.
always something going on that you're like, wait, what? And you're actually, for some reason, invested in it. You know, like you want to see what happens next. You want to figure out what's going to happen next. I found myself trying to figure out, oh, is this person actually the Antichrist, or maybe this person is actually the
Yeah, I
Antichrist?
mean, it's kind of like that, like a whodunit in a way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're watching these actors. Perfect. Okay.
So, yeah, I don't know if I would even say that Joe Bob was right that it was Mission Impossible, though.
No,
See,
it's kind of. He says kind of like Mission Impossible, in the
I
sense
don't
that he's
see
going
anything.
undercover as a Satanist.
Well, I guess, but I still don't see anything relatable
He's a
to.
priest going undercover as Satanist in a suicide mission, potentially suicide mission, an impossible mission to find the location of the Antichrist and kill him and save the world. Is he successful or not? I don't know. You gotta watch the movie for that. But
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I'm just like,
yeah,
I don't know.
that's where it connects. Is it perfectly a perfect analogy? By far, no, not at all.
Yeah,
I will admit to that. But it's Joe Bob's analogy, not mine. So you remember who you
yeah.
can send your complaint to. Next
I'm not
was
going to complain.
the
You can see
absolutely
it how it works.
gorgeous, the absolutely stunningly shot Gretel and Hansel. Oh my goodness,
Oh
this
yeah,
epitome of every frame of painting. I'm a huge fucking nerd for Oz Perkins movies. I absolutely, completely adored the Black Coat's daughter so much. I had like such kinship with the main character of that movie. I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House was really fucking good. I need to rewatch it. It's actually on my list of things I'd like to rewatch eventually. The only one that's ever been released on Blu-ray, by the way, is Black Coat's Daughter. I Am the Pretty Thing's been on Netflix from like 2014, 2016, 2016. Hasn't had a
yeah.
physical release anywhere in the world. I'd buy a DVD at this point. You understand?
And then this movie, Hansel and Gretel, this doesn't have a physical release either, does it?
Oh, Great Britain, I think it looks like.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say, like, we were both mentioning,
Actually, it's a Spanish release.
how, like,
Is that Spanish?
this is such a beautifully shot movie.
Oh, that might
I
be German.
wish we
Actually,
could,
it's German.
I wish we could actually see what was going on because it's a very dark movie as well, like
Yeah,
dimly lit.
very
And the
dark.
problem is, Netflix
Streaming.
and streaming
It
in
was
general
Hulu, I
just
think, was what we
it
watched it
was
on.
Hulu,
Yeah,
yeah.
which is better than
And
Netflix lately, I have to say.
but streaming services in general
Mm-hmm.
just don't do well with
Mm-mm.
dark anything. It's like if it's a horror movie on streaming service, ironically, horror movies are like one of the best types of things for streaming services to do because they're usually relatively low budget,
Yeah,
and you
this
can
one wasn't.
probably get some good returns on them.
This one feels
But
very big
but
budget.
but the irony behind it is that because it's streaming, you have to crush the fucking image.
Mm-hmm.
And when you crush the image, people can't see what the fuck is happening in the dark. It's all fucking blocks. It's just,
All right, carry the chat at the P.
ah!
You
Okay.
have to carry the chat for 2 minutes.
Hansel and Gretel. This movie made me want to watch a movie about mushrooms, actually, because there's a scene in which they're documentary about mushrooms. There's a scene in which the main characters eat mushrooms that they found on the forest floor. I believe they are amanita mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms. Um, and thus, everything that happens afterward in the movie really could have just been a really bad trip. We don't know for sure. I don't think that's the case necessarily, and that's definitely not what they're trying to imply. I don't think. Uh, but it's an interesting thought, and it brought up a subject as we were talking about the mushrooms during the movie, of certain potentially historical things that have happened in human history that may have had a link to psychedelic mushrooms and humans eating them in the past and then telling stories based on what they experienced from eating psychedelic mushrooms, you know? I don't want to go any further than that in describing it. I'm just saying that discussion that we had while watching this movie made me want to go watch the documentary on Netflix that's about mushrooms. It's actually Brie Larson did the she's the voiceover person for the documentary. Um, and it's a very good one, very interesting one at that. But regardless, I thought I heard something. Regardless, Hansel and Gretel was a very good movie. Um, I would say it's probably the most interesting take on the story that I've ever seen. And again, it's one where they have a very low view of humanity as a whole. It's set during a time period when gender roles were very much very strict. You know, women only had certain things that they could do with their lives, especially if they didn't have a husband. You know, find a husband,
Oh
find a
yeah.
mate,
Sorry about
and
that.
men usually had more power than women, and then you see uh, this witch enter the story and fuck up all understanding of that within the context of the time frame that they live in, which is kind of good. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. Are you talking about like the setting and some of the social things about the film?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if you were still talking about Gretel and Hansel.
I also talked about the mushrooms.
Oh yes, and that's when we had the discussion about animated as
Yes.
mascaria, and how it was the source of the Christian, the whole
Well,
Christian cult.
I didn't
That
go
was
so far as to explain that much of it, but yes.
well, okay. Sorry for those who don't know. There's an image depicted of the tree of knowledge, right? Is that right? The tree that they eat from. It's a tree of
Um,
knowledge, right? The fucking that spoils the garden, correct?
yes,
Okay,
yes, yes.
so the tree, that tree, the depiction is the tree covered in Amanita muscaria mushrooms, and that's the fruit they eat from the tree.
Yeah, there are depictions of the fruit of knowledge having
So
been the mushroom, which makes sense if you think about it, because scientists believe it's very likely that the human brain developed as it did because early human beings, ate a lot of those mushrooms, more than likely.
psychedelics, and it makes you think. That's why.
So
And expand your consciousness. Likes you, makes you
it
like
doesn't just like mentally expand your
no,
consciousness either.
yeah.
Like it literally creates new neural pathways.
It's fantastic for depression and PTSD
That's
and
why the
anxiety.
scientists are saying it likely like helped us evolve. You know?
And it'll likely help help those people who suffer from severe PTSD or
Yeah, that's one of
or
the things.
depression or anxiety. Because
I
again,
also
it
talked about how
rewrites
this inspired me
things.
to.
The reason why you get anxious over stuff is like a wiring in your brain. So the psychedelics help you rewire those things. So that's how, and, among
I
other things.
I talked about while you were gone the mushroom documentary that I watched after this because of the discussion that we had about mushrooms.
Right.
And in that documentary, they talk about a study that they did with the Amanita mushrooms, I believe they were the
Mm-hmm.
Amanita, uh,
Those are the common ones. The most
where they
common.
were giving them to people who had anxiety and stuff like that. And they were saying that, like, in many cases, these people only need one dose, and then that's enough for like 4 or 5 months.
Right, and
You know what I
there's
mean?
actually some really good data for microdosing daily instead. Just like taking it like a pill basically, a very small amount of the of the drug of the mushroom, right? Like instead of having like a whole mushroom and having a trip, it's just a little bit. It's a mood boost. It and like it really helps a lot, and that's what so that's another thing about they're talking about microdosing being a good way to battle things like common things like agoraphobia and OCD and anxiety and these kind of things that cause a lot of people to kind of miss out in society in many ways. You know,
But it'll probably never happen because
the
money.
war on drugs, blah 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 blah, drug on wars. But yeah, because people get rich off the suffering of others, and
Yeah.
that's capitalism. Sorry to get political, but that's what it is. Next is I by the way I gave Gretel and Hansel. I think I gave it like an 8 or 9 out of 10. Like that was really fucking good.
Yeah, it's a good one.
8 out of 10. I gave it a heart and an 8 out of 10. So it's like a strong 8 out of 10. It's a tiebreaker, that heart, not like favorite. All right, next we did Muppet Treasure Island, which I thought I hadn't seen, but about 5 minutes in, I went, nope, never mind. I've definitely seen this.
It's been a long time since I had seen it, and um, I think it's honestly the better of the two movies between it and Great Muppet Caper for me.
Oh yeah,
Personally.
there's a double feature that features those two things. That's why
Yeah.
I disagree. I think Caper is better. I really do. I knew I was gonna butcher that title, so I just went right with Caper.
But I will say this about Muppet Treasure Island. Aside from literally one or two songs, like you probably know which ones they are,
Mm-hmm.
um, all
The
the music in
notable
that
ones.
movie was not good.
It's
Like
okay.
most of the music in the movie is not very good. That's all
It's
I'm
all
saying.
passable. It's nothing. It's nothing offensive. But the kid, you might fall in love with a song or two. That makes sense. But like, as an
And
adult watching it, it was like, it's all right. I give it a 6 out of 10.
Tim
Yeah,
Curry really carries the fuck out of the movie, and
big
he's
time.
one
Gonzo
of the big
too.
reasons to watch it.
Motherfucking
And
Gonzo carrying another movie on his
I love,
back.
I love how Gonzo and Rizzo became like a team during the '90s.
Yeah,
You
they
know?
they carried 3 fucking movies together, dude. Like they
Hmm.
did this, then Christmas Carol, and Muppets from Space.
Hmm.
Wait, Rizzo may not have been in that one. I think he is though.
He is. He
Okay,
is.
it's been a really long
He's
time since I
got.
saw that. So
He's Gonzo's roommate in that one. So yeah.
is it on D Plus?
What?
Is it on Disney Plus?
No, because it's a Sony title.
Muppets
I
are?
actually looked up Muppets from Space and Muppets
Oh,
Take Manhattan
oh,
specifically are
that's right,
Sony
because
titles.
they've been around in
Yeah.
places. But yeah, they have
And
Christmas Carol, Treasure Island, original movie,
I looked the
Caper.
other night, and it's not available for streaming anywhere.
They don't have the original
Actually,
Muppet Babies either.
I think Muppets from Space, either Muppets from Space or Muppets Take Manhattan, are available. One of the two is available on Apple TV for $3.99.
Oh my
But
god.
other than that, like you can't stream it anywhere. Wow,
Well,
I'm glad I have the Blu-rays.
physical
Like,
media forever.
yeah.
Muppets from Space is streaming with a subscription on IMDb TV through Prime Video.
Oh, wonderful.
Lovely. And then you just buy it at a bunch of places for $4. But like, no, I'd rather just buy the DVD for $4 or the Blu-ray if it's available still. DVDs in large quantities. I could always find the movie.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Anyways, Muppet Treasure Island, I think I gave a 7. Maybe
Wow,
higher.
that's
I think it
strong.
was a 7.
Hey, go for it. I'm just answering. That's a strong one. Oh, Muppets from Space is still available. Excuse me. Why add this to my cart? It's one of the ones I need. I can't buy it right now. Probably not for another month or two. But I can put it in my cart to remind me.
Muppets Take Manhattan is legitimately, literally my favorite Muppets movie. So,
I like Great Muppet Caper. I know. I also like Take Manhattan, and I like all the movies. I don't think there's actually any bad ones, except for maybe Wizard of Oz. But I've only saw it once, and it was a while ago. I could be wrong.
never seen the Wizard of Oz one. Still need to.
I saw it a while ago on like VHS. I mean,
It
like
got to that point, and I was just like,
maybe
I
it was
don't care
bad
anymore.
DVD. I don't know. So yeah, next movie was The Last Boy Scout by the greatly missed Tony Scott.
Ah, yes. This movie was fucking masculinity, the movie. It's just so ridiculously masculine. Like, there's so much.
It's machismo plus plus.
Oh my God. More so than any other action movie I can think of that came out at that time period. Holy shit, there's so much here that's just manly, manly, manly
It's
man.
1991, so it's like the end of the 80s machismo stuff, but still the early 90s when like John McClane Die Hard became like super the norm, where it's just some
Yeah.
schlub gets to be a superhero. Yeah, it's that. That's why it's guess what? It's Bruce Willis being the schlub. Oh no,
But it's definitely
again.
shitloads of fun, regardless.
Oh, I
Like,
fucking loved the hell out of it. What did I rate it in my book? I think I rated it differently
I don't
here.
remember if I ever saw it growing up, but
Oh, I
seeing it
saw it on
now
TV all
is
the time.
so much fun. And I would say it has aged pretty well.
There's a few jokes I would say are a bit not
There
cool.
are, yeah, there are certain aspects of it that aren't as socially acceptable now. But I mean, in terms of the movie being fun and entertaining and well shot and looking good in high definition and all that stuff, like, yeah, it passes all those bars quite
Oh
easily.
yeah, it's a very entertaining flick. I mean, like all my friends give it like 7 or better stars. I gave it 7 out of 10. I thought it was a really, really great action flick. And I
Hmm.
think the one action flick that's also starring Bruce Willis that everyone seems to just have forgotten or never saw, it just passed under the radar, was a movie called Last Man Standing. Have you ever seen it?
Nope.
It's about Bruce Willis, who's John Smith, a mysterious stranger who's drawn into a vicious war between two Prohibition era gangs. You guessed it, fistful of dollars, but with Prohibition gangs, but they're also in a Wild West town. So it's John Woo infused. It's not. It's by Walter Hill. It's by Walter Hill. You can clearly see he just watched Better Tomorrow, or one of those fucking
I remember the
heroic
artwork for
bloodsheds.
this. I do remember the
Yeah.
fucking VHS
And
artwork
so
for
it takes
this.
place in this ghost town that's clearly a Wild West ghost town, but it's got like jumping while firing two guns, that kind of stuff. It's got all sorts of really great action set pieces. It's Walter Hill, so you know it's a good action film. Guy knows what he knows his shit. Bruce Willis is, I think, is the good guy. Bruce Dern is the real fucking evil bad guy, and I mean, he's one of those guys you were like, I hope this guy dies bad. He's a real evil motherfucker. Man, Bruce Dern could turn on the evil like fucking quick. Oh, anyway, sorry. That's not one we watched. I'd like to show it to you at some point. It's not streaming anywhere, of course.
Of course.
I don't know. I think it might still be on DVD.
Wow.
But yeah,
That's
I think there was like one or two moments when I was like a little lost in the action, but 99% of the Last Boy Scout is like so good. You can just overlook a lot of the flaws. Like some of the side characters are badly acted or not well acted, but like the
any
main
movie
ones.
where the rich guy gets his comeuppance in the end is it gets an extra star for me. You know, I like
That's
to see
fair
the
enough.
rich guy lose in the worst possible
So does that
way.
mean you gave Ice Road 3 stars?
Um, I think I did actually.
Oh
No,
my
I give it
god.
5 stars. I give it
Jesus, that's
two and a,
generous.
2.5 or
5 out of 10.
yeah, 5 out of 10.
God. That's
I go out of
generous.
10.
I gave it 4 out of 10. Let's just talk
I
about Ice
found it
Road since I accidentally brought it up ahead of time.
okay. Well, I found it fairly entertaining. Not great.
It was racist.
Really, yes. Very.
Unintentionally.
There's yeah.
Well,
It's Can I?
yeah, go
Jesus.
ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, I keep losing what I'm going to say, and then you say something else. Oh God,
The cycle
I keep
of
losing
pain.
it.
The cycle of pain.
It's a cycle of pain, just like this movie. No, I'm just kidding. The concept for the movie is not terrible. I think the main thing that I found good about the movie was the world it was set in. The world made sense to me, right? The
Yeah, there's nothing wrong
world
with
that it
that.
was set in made some kind of sense. The dialogue was fucking terrible.
Oh,
And
it
did
was
you
so
say
bad.
this was written by the same guy who wrote The Rock and
Let's see. Let me
what
go.
else?
Jonathan Hensley.
Armageddon,
Jonathan
didn't you say?
Hensley wrote and directed this. He also directed and co-wrote The Punisher. He wrote and directed the Kill the Irishman,
That before.
a movie called Welcome to the Jungle, which actually looks kind of cool. But Before that, he wrote a bunch of movies. He had Die Hard with a Vengeance, The Rock, Armageddon, Jumanji, The Saint, Far Off Place, and a bunch of and Young
Now,
Indiana Jones. Now, a lot of those were co-written.
yes.
That's
And what do
key.
you notice about a lot of those movies, by the way? They'll have excellent worlds that they
Yeah.
are that they take
Oh,
place
you know
in,
what? That's
right?
probably It's probably what he's there for
That's what I
too.
was thinking as
Yeah.
I'm watching this, and as
Same with the
you were
Punisher.
talking about
That's the
that,
thing I love
was
about
like,
the Punisher is the world they inhabit. It feels
yes.
like the comic book. There's all these weird fucking characters. This assassin is a fucking random cowboy singer, like who just decided
So
to do a fucking custom ballad for Frank. Like, what's a weird ass idea, but it's great, and it's the
yeah,
world.
so that's I think that's what this guy does well. I think
Jonathan
that's what
Hensley.
he's I think so, that's what Jonathan is brought in to do with
He's
probably with most of the
and he's a
scripts he
good
worked on.
director. There was nothing wrong with that. I didn't think there was anything wrong with the direction. Like
Yeah.
I didn't like
Uh,
that's not a problem. I feel like in this movie. I feel like there's a lot of other issues with it though.
but like with nobody to rein him in and tell him this isn't going to work as well as you think it does, um, it just kind of falls flat in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
And you can really tell when certain actors were brought on for a day and then, that's it. Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, who's the best fucking character?
Um,
And just like Lance Henriksen in Harbinger Down, he just kind of shows up and then leaves almost as quick as he's there.
yeah. Um,
Yeah, it's about 20 minutes of film to be fair, but
what I what I liked about this, well, I felt like Nicolas Cage probably would have been a better choice than Liam Neeson, but
agreed.
that Liam Neeson also kind of brings something to the role. Like he was at least good enough, way better than this role, right?
He plays
But
gruff, angry dad very well.
yes,
Grumpy dad,
like
big grumpy dad vibes.
what I'm saying is he's deserving of better roles, but maybe somebody else would have done a better job than him at this role.
Hmm.
But not that at the same time, I don't know that this role necessarily deserves a better actor.
So I docked this movie a whole star for its white savior
Yeah.
plot line, and for be the main character being just completely unlikable and kind of racist, and then we're supposed to like him at the end, which I was like, eh. That was like the only thing I was like, eh.
I do like
I
that
don't hate him, but like I didn't quite like the character. He was kind of a jerk to his brother. He always clearly
he's
cared about his
not
brother.
that much of a
No,
jerk to his
he
brother.
clearly cares for his brother. He takes care of him, but he's this gruff, grumpy dad character. Like he's not a good people person. So he's trying to take care of
Mhm.
someone who needs a lot more care, safe, niceness, kid gloves, and he has no ability to wear kid gloves. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's the aspect of the movie that I liked though, because it felt more
Fair.
real to me. Because it's like there,
That's what
that's a
happens with people. I guess.
situation that sounds real familiar to me. People in that scenario where like
Hmm.
you know veterans have these issues and they can't find work because of it. It's like I know all about that. I literally know all about that,
Hmm.
and then their family has to take care of them, find a way to get them work, find a way to help them live a normal life, a somewhat normal life, and they run into issues like this, and it's like that's the part of the world building of this movie that I was like, this is an interesting concept. I like this. I also like, okay, it is a white savior, but it's also an American savior that's showing up the fucking Canadians. The Canadians are the bad guys in this movie,
The
and the
corporate Canadians,
Americans,
to be fair.
yes, and the Americans are the good guys, and I like that because that's usually not the way it goes.
American exceptionalism.
Now, it's also one of the things that kind of takes you out of the movie because literally historically, that's usually not the way it goes.
Nope.
So it doesn't sound like something that would happen, but it is possible, I guess. And it's an interesting twist. Oh, wait a minute. The Canadians, the really nice Canadians, are the ones who are being assholes? Holy shit.
Hmm.
You know? um, Ultimately, at the end of the day, of the day, it's a cheesy action movie that feels like it was made by Asylum,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, don't expect anything brilliant. That's
There's
why I
actually a
gave it a 5 out of
Asylum movie with a similar like title.
10.
I don't know if it came out well before or around
You'll
this
know
movie,
you'll
but
know the difference because this one has Liam Neeson in it
yeah.
and Lawrence
I mean,
Fishburne.
like I said, it wasn't a bad movie. There's just parts of it that kind of bothered me, and it just this is the way it goes.
Yeah.
I gave it 4 out of 10 stars, and you gave it 5 out of 10 stars. So yeah,
Yes.
you're too generous. No, I'm kidding. Next we watched The Lighthouse. Boy, I'm glad I watched this on Blu-ray because if I'd watched this on streaming, I'm sure it'd been crunched. Blocky. Was yours blocky? You watched it on HBO, right?
Uh, I don't think I watched it on HBO. I think I watched it on Amazon. I think
Hmm.
that's where it is. But yeah, I have
Sure.
the Blu-ray. I just didn't want to dig it out. And there were moments of blockiness, yes, because as with any fucking movie that has any dark moments at all, there are going to be moments of crushing.
The movie is
But
so dark too, in a good
thankfully, I
way.
didn't have that problem too much. But
It's got this inky blackness to it, like almost like
I'm
squid
sure
ink.
it looks way fucking better on
Oh,
Blu-ray.
it
I
looks so
mean,
good. It looks so good.
there there's something about this movie. You need to watch it several times to really, I wouldn't say necessarily understand
Yeah,
it, because
no.
I think that you can get a grasp of what's going on the first time around. But with further viewings, you could get a grasp on maybe another reading of the film entirely, you
Well, I
know?
mean, it's like it's layered, so it's about like in many ways it's about generational differences. It's about father son dynamics. It's about like you know what I mean. Like it's there's a lot of like homosexual undertones and implications. With some of the scenes, nothing's explicit in this film. Not a single thing is explicit. Not even the violence. It's like even the violence is kind of it's out of focus in the foreground. He like, he used the axe in that one scene, and the axe is in the foreground, but you can't see the result of said violence very clearly. It's out of focus, and I feel like uh, the only thing that's not out of focus is the very, 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 very close up shot of a mermaid's vagina, which is emblazed in my brain forever. Like I close my eyes and I can tell you every fold in that fucking thing. And it was on screen for like half a second. It's one of those images that just seared in my brain because it was such a weird and interesting and like because it didn't look human, right? Immediately I noticed that it looked very floral, but in a different way, and it kind of I was fascinated immediately by the shapes, but then like there's all these other like weird images. There is some sexual stuff, but it's not the homosexuality stuff is not like on the surface. So there's like levels here and it's like an onion. I know, like an ogre, but no, I mean, I really, this is actually like a truly art film, true art film. It's also a horror film. It's also a drama.
Yeah.
Oh, and there were some amazing sequences that are like, oh, that's right out of The Shining. It looks so good. Like, he's like running through the snow with the axe, and I was like, oh, that shot's dope, right from The Shining, where he's
It's an
chasing out.
experience. It's
Yeah,
something you have to see to
I
believe.
highly recommend The Lighthouse. It was
And
very good.
I think it's very much proof that Robert Pattinson can, in fact, act.
Of course.
But it's also proof that even though Robert Pattinson is a great actor, I think Willem Dafoe, because he has had more time and experience as an actor,
Like 3 times as much.
is so much better. He fucking
He's such a cunt
eats
in this.
away all the scenery in this. He's such a great actor in this
Yeah.
movie.
His
He's so
character
good
his
in this
character is
movie.
such a cunt in this movie. Like it
Yeah,
really is. He's such a jerk. Just the worst. Hi kitty. I need you to get off my lap. You put my foot to sleep.
kind of makes me want to watch Florida Project again.
Well, I haven't seen it, so I'm down for that.
All right. Anyways, what was the next movie?
Oh right. Next movie was New York Vampire, also known as fuck, what was it called?
I don't
New
know. I
York.
don't even remember the title New York Vampire.
That's because it wasn't under that title. It was called Undying Love. The
Oh,
vampire
yeah.
movie. The shot on an 8mm or 60mm vampire movie. I mean, it looked really good. It's actually a pretty good transfer. I want a Blu-ray of this now. I thought this was pretty good.
I have no recollection of this movie.
It's a movie where like it kind of like does like an AIDS drugs type needle sharing thing with the blood swapping.
Um,
Oh, I guess we're
that
skipping this
sounds
movie.
like that sounds like many fucking movies to me.
I
So I'm
guess we're
like, hold
skipping
on.
it. All right, we're gonna skip the New York Vampire, aka Undying Love. My apology, Greg Lambertson. Your movie was really good, and I'm sorry, Stabman has completely forgot about this movie. We watched a lot of movies in the last 2 weeks. I mean, we got like multiple days of movie watching, where normally we only get one because S&I hasn't been happening. So instead, we just watch movies on Saturday because that's what Sean gets for not wanting to do stream.
Yeah.
So yeah, uh, I couldn't tell you what happens in this movie because my brain can't remember certain details without being like prompted with other details. But I do remember there like being a whole like STD type vibe to like blood contamination in this. That was kind of like a plot point. You're completely lost, aren't you?
I'm trying to see if I can't remember this, honestly.
Are you playing the video?
I'm watching the trailer to
Oh.
remember this. I remember this. Yeah, okay. I
Here
remember
we
this.
go. Help me, I'm struggling. I need prompts. I'm not good on my own.
So,
Not when it comes to talking about details of a movie. Like that's why I have a partner to talk
okay,
movies
well,
with.
I'll tell you what I remember thinking was that the lighting was pretty interesting in this.
Yeah, it's low
It
budget.
was
So.
really good for a low budget movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, holy shit, this is really well lit for something very low budget. The acting, while some of it was
Ha!
wooden, some of
Whew.
it was not wooden, and it fucking made the movie go,
It
so to speak.
waffled. It waffled between good and passable.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not, now at no point are you like clawing your eyes out or bored. I didn't think I was bored. I was just I just have a problem remembering details without being
I
pro.
also like that the vampires didn't follow any of the typical
Oh
rules
right,
of being vampires.
that's right.
You know,
I love that because they just went out in the daylight and all this other nonsense.
yep, they can
Yep,
walk in the daylight, they can do whatever the
they
hell
can
they
eat
want to.
food.
They
They
just have
can
a virus essentially that makes them uh,
vampires.
undead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of weird, but like cool. I like aspects of this. This is one of those movies that like if it got a good release because it's clearly a film print that's got like a Blu-ray from Vinegar Syndrome. I would probably buy this movie because it just
I
sounds
am not
interesting.
going to do this movie the offense of trying to give it a score when I barely remember enough about it to say as much as I have.
See,
So
I give scores when I watch the movie. So at the
I don't
time,
remember what my score was though.
I know that's
So
why I use Letterbox though, and a notebook. But like this is why I gave it a 6 out of 10. Imagine I remember you saying it was not you didn't like it as much.
yeah, I probably gave it like a 5 out of 10
Yes, you
though.
did exactly.
Yeah,
It was not that far off.
because
So
I didn't think it was a terrible movie.
it wasn't at all.
The I think it's funny. I looked at the IMDb at the box art and I was like, this doesn't. It didn't. I couldn't remember anything about the movie from the box art.
Of
Right?
course
I'm
not.
like, is this the box art? Just looks like fucking
Bunch of
porn,
ladies.
basically.
Yeah, right.
It's
It
like
does. It looks like Cinemax.
I'm sure there's a reason for
Skinemax
that.
movies.
Wink, wink, nudge,
Yes.
nudge. You know, that
Yes.
was back in that day.
Yes. Absolutely. It
Um,
probably played on that channel. I imagine.
Getting sales, trying to get those sales. I understand entirely. Uh, but yeah, I don't
Oh.
have anything bad, really negatively bad or good to say about that movie
I don't
at the current time.
really have anything interesting to say about Little Shop of Horrors. I mean,
It's Little Shop of Horrors, the original.
1960.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
The
Excellent.
I think the best thing to say about it, honestly, is that it inspired us to watch another movie.
Yes. Interestingly, I don't need to ever see this movie ever again. Like I've seen it like I don't know 10 times in my life. I know the plot well enough. I don't even need to see it anymore. Like it's like
Frank Oz's version is superior, damn it.
it
It just
really is.
is.
As much as I deeply appreciate that the film was shot in like a week or two. Yeah, yeah. I know they say it's like it was shot in 3 days or whatever, or 2 days and one night. And I'm like, yeah, except for all the pickup shots and the extra scenes that they had someone else film for them. Like, it wasn't really 2 days, one night. It was 2 days, one night, and some extra days worth of stuff from
Yeah.
other people.
I don't need the extra mythos to make movie making magical.
Yeah,
Okay.
but the fact that it was even shot in such a short time and such a low budget with existing sets and existing actors from the previous movie, A Bucket of Blood, I think I think it's fucking great. I think everyone should see it at least once or twice. If you can get your hands on the Golden Ninja video release, that would be the one I would say you should see because there's never been a Blu-ray release of it. I don't think I'm pretty sure there hasn't, and
Well, it's public domain. They don't really stand to make any money.
yeah,
It's
and
not a
then
lot.
but like there's some stuff, yeah, just a little shot where there's a that specific Blu-ray has a really amazing commentary. They talk a lot about how the movie was made and how many days it took, and some of the mythos surrounding that and why that mythos surrounds it, and it's all marketing. Corman is a carnival barker. He wants to sell you fucking ice water, out in the snow. We don't need to make it into
I'll catch a popsicle to a woman in white gloves. To quote another movie.
yeah. Oh god, this next movie is half a star. Should we just skip it entirely? It's a sin.
No, we should talk about how it. Well, we
Frank
watched
starring
this one.
Frank Grillo
Yeah.
and Bruce Willis, yeah, again, because I was feeling we were feeling Bruce Willis mood. So there's two real Bruce Willis
Ours.
movies. Yeah. Cosmic Sin from
This was
20.
actually right after Ice Road. That
Yeah,
watched.
we're talking about these out of order. We still have to talk at
Yeah.
the start of the show, Suicide Squad, which is gonna come after all this
But
stuff.
like, yeah, but the reason I watched it was not just to necessarily get back at Skinslip for Ice Road,
No,
but it was because like I'm like, okay, this is a sci-fi movie starring Bruce
on
Willis
Netflix.
on Netflix, and Frank Grillo. I was like, okay,
Frank
well,
Grillo is what sold it to me because
I
honestly,
have to
Bruce
see
Willis
this.
and after the year 2003, Bruce Willis got no gas for me. He. It's when he's like, I want to have this PG-13 Die Hard. I'm good. You sold out, Bruce. Bye. Have fun. I don't give a fuck what your excuse is. Die Hard's always been a rated R franchise. You want to make PG-13? I have no interest anymore. And a lot of stuff he said has been antithetical to my moral values. So I just
Yeah,
let him live his life. I won't at no ill will, but he's not a driving factor for me to watch a movie after a certain point in time. He lost his magic. Now he just does whatever. He's like gotta go to his filmography. There's like 20 movies in the last 5 years even, and they're all terrible. Cause he's
yeah.
just, I mean, there's some good ones. There's some really bad ones that are direct to video.
But the truth about Bruce Willis for me is, if I see his name on the box, I'm probably going to watch it at some point.
Yeah, I
That's
mean, Nick Cage can be in a
probably
thousand bad
it.
movies. I'd still watch every
Yeah,
Nick Cage movie. I mean,
because he makes them entertaining. I will say that's not the same case for Bruce Willis.
no,
I don't think that
he's
he
not the same
inherently
caliber.
makes every movie he does entertaining.
He's nowhere near the caliber of Nick Cage as an actor. I mean, we were talking about Nick Cage, a guy who literally every movie he has a freak out. It's different. He's never no two. If you go and like cut out all the freakouts in every movie and line them up, you'll notice there's a small bit of similarity. That's a bit of him in there, right? But my shirt is rolled up on me. But like he always has a new interesting twist or take on this character's mental state, and he always bases it, grounds it in the scene. He's such a good actor, and he just takes movies that seem cool to him, and I respect that, even if they don't let him necessarily flex his acting skills all the time. He's enjoying it, and that's all that matters. So,
But with
anyway,
that said, Bruce Willis, Frank Grillo, Cosmic Sin, which
2021,
is which is in fact a sin against filmmaking.
because it bored me
Uh,
to death.
that's the big sin that it commits is
That's
that
the
it's
only sin, in film.
terribly boring.
You
It's
can do
so
anything in film. Can't
ah.
can't bore the audience. And I'm telling
There's
you.
just
So,
nothing
by the
here.
way,
There's nothing.
I picked Ice Road without looking at any reviews, just because it was a remake of Wages of Sin, right? It was okay. We wanted to watch something else, and I said, "Oh," he's like, "Hey, how about Cosmic Sin?" I went to Letterboxd without look. I'm not looking at like words. I'm looking at just the raw ratings from my friends. There's
And
not a
she
single
yells this, by the way. She yells.
1.1. It's got a 1 point rating on Letterboxd, the place where film fans are. Let's go to IMDb. IMDb's rating
I
is
don't know.
probably
No.
less.
Oh God.
Where is the rating at
Maybe
nowadays?
a little bit better on IMDb. Probably like
Where is
2
he?
point something.
A 2 out of 10. Holy shit. Where is the ratings on this now? Oh, there's 2.5 out of 10.
Yeah, there it is.
That's
I called it.
generous. That's really generous.
That's fair. That is very generous. I would say it's a 2 out of 10. Because here's the thing.
Oh,
Remember the movie we watched, Future Kick?
that was a fucking awesome movie.
It was, and it had a pretty interesting, you know, sci-fi kind of story going on there. What it's just so fucking telling to me that Future Kick, a movie called Future Kick, had a more
I,
interesting and in-depth plot, sci-fi plot at that, than Cosmic Sin.
and I bet you the budget was a fraction of the cost too.
Probably.
And there's no CGI in that movie. There's a lot in this
It
one.
was more interesting. It was a more interesting fucking movie. A movie called Future Kick was more fucking interesting than this.
Now,
Jesus
that's not to say
Christ.
there's nothing to like here. If I had seen this as a kid, I probably would have loved this movie only for the armor everyone wears. It's not that I would ever say it's a good movie, because it's not, but like the armor everyone wears in this movie is just really cool looking. And just genuinely the costume design of the soldier outfits are really great. That's about all I can compliment
This
the movie
movie
for. Sorry.
This movie has all the depth of a Call of Duty Modern Warfare multiplayer match. It's
Wow. That
fucking
was
boring.
fucking brutal. Jesus, someone just got fucking.
There's-
I just witnessed a murder. The Stout just murdered a movie. An entire movie just got murdered.
It's so uninteresting, and I don't know how you do that when you've got fucking space vampire zombies. Like, there are space vampire zombies in this movie, and you will be bored to tears by it.
It was
How?
intergalactic war,
I don't know.
and not a single moment of the war was compelling or interesting. It was just
The
bland
dialogue
sci-fi.
was awful.
I'd rather
People-
actually look. I'm not trying to be mean, but I'd rather actually watch a sci-fi channel movie.
There were these moments of dialogue.
I at least laughed in that one.
Where Bruce Willis is talking to some of the other characters, and it genuinely feels like in any movie that was even slightly better than this, all they would have had to do was have them like, because this is like an offhand conversation that two people who fucking know each other, or potentially sounds like they've been in a relationship together, but that's never really explicitly stated.
That'd be really heavily hinted at all either. Just implied in the
Yeah,
dialogue.
but it sounds like that, and so it's like this would have been so much better if they weren't just talking directly, staring at each other the whole fucking time, not moving, talking directly to one another. Instead, as they're putting on all their fucking armor, not looking at each other, they have this conversation offhandedly. That would have felt so much more natural to me than, hello, how are you? I am, it's just like, oh my God. Nobody fucking talks like that. Nobody stands and stares at the person they're talking to and just, hi, how's it going? Are you having a good time?
It's an exceptionally badly shot film.
Ugh.
It's so uninteresting. There's a million canted angles that have no motivation. That's the one that filmmakers. Hey, are you a filmmaker and you're just happen to be watching? Don't fucking cant the camera just because. You have to be motivated by something
But it looks
happening.
cool. It looks
Doesn't
cool.
fucking matter. You're not doing a music video.
Like,
You're doing a movie. Things have to be motivated. You can
know who
motivate
else?
that. You can motivate it. I'm not saying you can't use it. You just have to motivate it. You have to do it right. Sorry.
You know
I
who else?
digress.
You know who else thought that was such a fucking cool idea? Like, oh, it looks so fucking cool that they put it in their movie throughout literally the entire movie. Like every
Is it
single
something we
shot is
watched
fucking
together?
canted angle. It's a movie called Battlefield Earth.
Oh my god,
Don't do it.
that movie is so hard to watch. It's not fun. It's a It's like I'm being forced to march at the end of PE. Like, I don't want to like use any like forced march means. I'm just saying like you're in PE, you have to do the mile, but you don't want to. So you're just like and you just kind of just wander in the general direction of everyone else because you're just so fucking full of noise, and you don't even complete the full lap. You just hide amongst the rest of the people, and I totally came by already because it's taking me so long to go around. Yeah, it's like that. There it is. No, I
Yeah.
mean, a Cosmic Sin. My problem with Cosmic Sin was it's boring, predictable, uninteresting. Predictable in a sense that like, I, the stakes. There's no stakes. You know what I mean? I didn't feel
Mhm.
like at any point in time the world was endangered for a single second.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's the
And
problem,
it also kind of upsets me a little bit that like I really didn't care about Frank Grillo's character. He's
right?
like one of the main fucking actors in the
He's the
movie.
reason we
Like the
watched
guy,
this, by the way.
yeah, and his role is given a lot of importance, but you still don't fucking care. It's like
And he sounds
there's no
bored.
reason to care, and he sounds bored, and he looks bored throughout pretty much the whole
And
fucking
and
thing.
Bruce Willis is just not even bothering to act. He's just like hanging out. He's getting
Yeah,
his
Bruce
paycheck.
Willis just exactly just coming in. Bruce Willis had the energy of fucking Orson Welles during his last days in
Ow!
this movie.
God, Jesus, why are you so fucking evil today?
It's bad. It's a fucking bad movie, and you know that's
God,
true.
but like just being so brutal.
Like, like
uh,
Orson Welles came in drunk one day to fucking do a fucking advertisement.
oh,
That's
that's
the
great.
energy of Bruce Willis in this
I mean,
movie.
I don't think he's drunk, to be clear.
Yeah,
He's just
to be
taking the
clear, to be
job.
clear.
He's just taking a job, and no
Exactly.
one else is like no one has given him the motivation. He's not being motivated as an actor. Is
Yeah.
what it really boils down to.
The only
I feel like
motivation he
the
has is
problem with
money.
this movie is in the writing and the direction. I don't think necessarily any of the actors are to blame for this flat dialogue in the
Yeah.
unmotivated because it's a
Yeah.
director's job to sit down with the actor and not say, "Hey, you need to be sad in this scene," which is probably what they were doing, and instead
Mhm.
go, "You're feeling this immense trauma from so and so." You have to express them in emotional terms to get them to a place where they can emote those emotions properly.
Mhm.
And
And
it's a
the thing
very
is, like,
hard job to do well. I can't
we
do it.
we've seen Frank Grillo enough to know that he is capable of doing better than this, and that it's not his fault that his character was uninteresting in this movie. It's like
It's not his fault. The director did not motivate him properly as an actor,
exactly, exactly.
or the writer. I don't know if they're different people. Didn't write a compelling enough story, and he signed on probably when it was like a short film or something, right? And that's how they
Mhm.
got this project off the ground. That's like things like that. That's the kind of thing that happens all the time in Hollywood. Just like a short film. It's like everyone's talking about it a little bit. There's some buzz, either in the industry or the general public, and then they contact a director and they get a star attached and yada yada yada. And Frank Grillo's here. Later on, they just add Bruce Willis. He feels like he's not even in the same scenes as the rest of these people. He could have easily just been CGI-ly inserted from fucking green screen. He felt like he had no connection to anybody there. No, so it's like whether that's true or not. I'm just saying it could easily have been a thing
It's
where they're like,
true.
we need some more star power here. So let's get how about Bruce Willis? He's cheap. He's got a name. He's cheaper, I should say. Maybe he's not cheap. I don't want to be derogatory because I'm not
Yeah, but
trying.
no problem. Like
Yeah,
it definitely looks like he's willing to do just about anything for a paycheck right now. I mean,
yeah. He's probably bored and just looking for fun. And I
yeah,
fucking and you know what? The
I
man's
don't
like
think he got any fun out of this,
the main.
honestly.
No, this isn't the fun part. This is work. Fun is when he gets paid and goes whatever he does with his money, whatever vice he chooses. And that's what he wants to do. More power to him. I'm not faulting him for that. I'm faulting in this case. I think the sole, the entire, uh, the entire half-star review, half-star letterbox rating rests solely on the director and the writer's shoulders.
Yeah.
It shows that this is someone who is. I haven't. I'm gonna look right now. I bet you this is a first or second film for this person.
I give it 2 stars.
This is the second film for this person. It feels like someone who is still getting their feet. Like this guy could make 3 movies, and the third movie could be really fucking good, and we all like it, right? That's what I feel like. I feel like it's not like there's nothing here. I feel like there's something here, but this is definitely someone's early foray into directing, and I don't feel like they may not be confident enough yet at being competent enough yet, not confident, competent enough yet, and they just need more training, and it just needs more movies. Edward direct. I want to see their other movie, Broil, which also has, not great reviews, but also has some 3-star reviews. So it's like there are. It could be on a hit or miss kind of movie. That's on Prime. We might watch that at some point because I'm actually interested. Even though that last movie was so bad, but like there's something there. There's a nugget there somewhere. It's not enough to sustain the movie, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about this one. I'm sorry. I feel like we were awfully harsh on that one, but it was not fun to watch. It was literally, 90 minutes of me going, ah!
I think you were harsh but fair.
I don't
Honestly.
think, I wasn't trying to bash anybody in particular, but I wanted to very clearly state these problems. And second to last,
I have no
Merrill's.
animosity towards anybody.
No animosity. He bored me with his movie, but maybe his other movie won't bore me. Maybe it was, I hear from Kevin Smith that when he did all those talks, he talked about working with Bruce Willis and how difficult he was. So maybe there was some difficulty that he had to overcome, and maybe that was something. I don't know where you know what I mean. Like I don't know where the blame lies. I know that what it looks like from here is it's the director and the writer, whoever those people are. Merrill's Marauders by Samuel Fuller, starring Jeff Chandler in his last role because Jeff Chandler like fucked his back up, like fractured like a vertebrae and like it had a bunch of compressed spine things during a stunt in this movie. I guess like one of the launch stunts or whatever. And then so he took some pain like med shots to make it through the movie, and then afterwards he went to surgery and had complications of surgery and died at like 46, 41 years old. Like his career was really taking off. Like, oh, this movie is very fucking good. I mean, very good. Which is, I know, Samuel Fuller, but like, it's really good. It's one of Fuller's best films. I really like Steel Helmet, but I think Merrill's Marauders is better. I know you haven't seen Steel Helmet, but you will love it. So,
I guess what I would say about this movie is that, like, well, it's probably unsurprising. This movie has a much better understanding of what war is really like than most other war movies at the time.
or
Okay?
even now, I would say a lot of war movies are
Even
pretty
now,
tone
yeah.
deaf to that stuff. I don't think anybody who hasn't explicitly experienced war should be making movies about war, or at least not having close collaboration with people who experience, so to make sure they don't betray what this movie gets right, some of these movies get wrong, so you don't be the wrong movies. You know what I mean? That's how I would do it if I were directing a movie about war.
I guess, but I feel like one of my favorite war movies was The Thin Red Line, and I don't think Terrence Malick knew anything about war. But
He may have had, but he might have really good advisors though about.
yeah, I think that's probably what it was.
I mean, and
Really
if you
good
listen to your
advisors.
advisors, not let the producers muck it up. It's always
Did a
a
lot of
problem.
research,
Oh yeah, he probably did. I can't imagine.
I know he
didn't.
worked on The Thin Red Line for fucking
Years.
4 or 5 years, something
Yeah.
like that.
Because he
So,
dropped out. He did like a bunch of movies. He did what, 2 movies, and then dropped out from exist. He did Badlands, Days of was. I'm blanking on the fucking movie name. I own the movie.
Not Days of Thunder.
Not Days of Wonder either, which is a fucking board game company. Fuck me. Go
Days of Heaven. There
Days
we
of
go.
Heaven. Right? Is that the order? I think I'm. Yeah. So he goes Badlands, Days of Heaven, and then like he sits out from 1978 to 1998. 20 years.
Hmm.
I think he was working as an assistant director or something for a lot of that time. But paying his bills,
Yeah.
probably doing research, sending red line, writing shit, whatever he was doing. But that gap, I mean, like, the difference of 5 years between Badlands and Days of Heaven is immense. You can see his directing skill goes up immensely, and then from Days of Heaven to Thin Red Line, he becomes a master. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like Days of Heaven is an amazing movie. It's not a masterwork; it's an amazing movie. Thin Red Line's masterwork. Like it's
Hmm.
one of the best horror movies ever made, like ever. We got sidetracked from Merrill's Marauders, but here we are.
Yes.
That's what happens.
But like one of the reasons I think it's such a good movie is that it tells the story of the soldiers from the perspective of the soldiers,
Right.
and that's the same thing that Merrill's Marauders is doing here. So um, I
I said
appreciate
the
movies.
enlisted officer specifically.
I appreciate these types of movies for that reason specifically
Yeah.
because uh, you don't. Okay, there are so many war movies where the uh, the soldiers are just the players in a bigger story, and it's
Right.
just like,
It's always focused on like generals and leaders and
yeah.
squad leaders, and this is all about like the entire squad. Like during the course of the movie, a main character will die, and another character will pop up, and that's the new main character because they're all the main characters, an ensemble cast. But like it leads you with a character sometimes, and then you'll witness that character die, and then it'll go to the next character, and it's like it's interesting. The perspectives are changing because it's from all of their perspectives at various points. It's God, I really fucking loved it. The battle scenes were all really intense, even for like, I mean like. It's a classic movie, so like these older movies, it's much harder for them to be intense at these battles. They're usually like more stagey, right? But this felt like a fucking war. These people felt like they were there in it, and so like the action scenes, the battle scenes were tense and interesting to watch. So many war movies get that wrong. Is the way to make
Yeah.
the battles truly intense and get you involved in it. But these these people, you care about every one of these people eventually. You know, uh, it's such a good movie.
Yep, I enjoyed it. I don't know if it's my favorite Samuel Fuller movie, but it's definitely a good one.
My favorite Samuel Fuller movie is Big Red One, followed closely by White Dog.
I still need to see a Big Red One.
I have it on DVD. It's right over there, actually.
I have it on DVD too. I just don't know where it is.
As long, hopefully, it's the restoration cut, right?
I'm pretty sure it is.
2 disc set.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Okay, it's
I
probably the
remember
one.
getting it at like a thrift store and showing you, and you said, "Yeah, that's the one you want." I was like, "Good."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, Merrill's Marauders. Wow, what a Samuel Fuller is such a great director, and such a great writer, and he did both those things, and it's just like it's based on like real people too, so it's like
Mhm.
in a real set of battles where they're going from Burma to a place I can't pronounce. I can't remember how they pronounce it in the movie. I'm sorry. I was very sleepy at this point. And then we watched another movie, I think.
Did we?
Yeah, we House of Usher, which I was like half asleep through, which is why we're not talking about it. Because I can't talk about it, even though I've seen it. I love the
Oh, the
lush
House of
sets.
Usher.
I love the
Yeah, we
lush
were.
sets and the beautiful costumes and fucking Vincent Price. But dude, I was fucking zonked at that point. I was like,
We watched that one because we had watched Little Shop of Horrors, and
mm-hmm.
while we were watching that, we found out, or I found out, that Fall of the House of Usher was like the first major, like decently budgeted film that Roger Corman ever did, and I was like,
Yep.
"Huh,
And one of the
cool."
big successes at the time, which spawned an entire cycle, which we're watching a bunch of the movies from because they're on that box set. Of course, you
Yep.
still need Tower of London, which I don't think is a Corman directed one, but I think it's produced by. I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. So yeah. Merrill's Marauder was great, and then last, the star of the show, Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad.
Dude, this was so fucking good. I was floored. Look. I liked the original Suicide Squad, the extended cut. I liked it. I had some problems with it. It's got the trope of the big laser into the sky trope that a lot of these sci-fi movies have, and so like that part was kind of like meh. But I liked a lot of the character bits. I don't like the Joker in that movie. Obviously, he's just blah. So glad he's
Mhm.
not in this movie. Really, I think he might be in the background of the scene. I don't remember. Uh, but yeah, they mention in this one the original name is Task Force X. I'm like, thank you for acknowledging the real name of the squad that's called the Suicide Squad by prisoners. Task Force X is its official name.
Mhm.
Anyway,
I I feel like James Gunn knows how to make a good comic book movie. That he understands comic books specifically, in not unlike the way that that Zack Snyder does. That like they both have an eye for like choosing shot selection and whatnot, and for panels, basically recreating what a panel would look like on the screen, a comic book panel would look like on the screen. And James Gunn has his own specific way of doing that, but um, Zack Snyder also has his own way of doing that. I think Zack Snyder's way more into splash page type of stuff,
yeah, he is
while James
very good
Gunn,
at expressing superheroes on a mythic scale.
yeah, well, James Gunn is more looking at them almost like a normal people, trying to make them,
Well,
trying to humanize them, you know?
I also feel like this is kind of a middle finger to Disney a little bit because he started this project because he was fired off Guardians of the Galaxy 3 because of stuff in comments he made like fucking 10 years ago, or 10 years prior, I should say. And I mean, like, I don't know. He apologized for it, and that should have just been enough. He did a good apology. It's just one of those. It's one of those things. It's like,
Yeah.
eh. But like, yeah, it's how to express this? It's basically Guardians of the Galaxy, but way more crueler to the characters. It's like
Yes.
Guardians of the
I
Galaxy
would
by
say a
way of Game of
darker,
Thrones.
it's a much darker view of heroes, or
Or
in this
villains
case,
in this case.
villains.
Yeah.
Yeah, much darker view of that kind of a world than Guardians of the Galaxy was. So yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily a middle finger though. I think it's a different story being told in this case from
Yeah.
what you see in
It feels like a middle
Guardians
finger
of the
because these
Galaxy and
characters have like the same kind of
Marvel.
personalities of like quippy banter. There's the same kind of musical cues, the classic rock and pop music. I mean, there's a lot of Guardians of the Galaxy, which I gather is James Gunn's style of given the proper budget, to do such things. But like, I think it just shows. I think what it really shows is how much of James Gunn is in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, perhaps. But if this movie feels like a big like, hey, I can do it somewhere else because this works because
Hmm.
it's me. I feel like that's what this movie is.
I don't know.
And
Um,
if I remember correctly, the first and true that we see going to the island, it feels like the characters are chosen in a way to kind of represent members of the Guardians of the Galaxy, with Weasel being Rocket, obviously.
who would be Groot then?
Oh, I don't think everybody. I think it's just many of them. I think it's kind of like a doop here's because like there's the one guy Star Lord that's who gets his face blown off. That's that guy. It was that comedian guy. I can't remember his name.
May I guess you have a point, I guess, but at the same time, I'm like, didn't this didn't even get off the ground until after he'd accepted the money for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, right? Or
No,
accepted the
this
role,
is
right?
movie. There was a break in there. That's when he was developing this movie. So I feel like there's just little subtle references to this kind of things, and I mean, my brain is like remembering something I saw
Okay.
2 weeks ago, right? So I mean, like,
Yeah.
or whatever it was. So forgive me, but I just that's immediately what I felt like when I saw that. First I felt really sad because I really actually genuinely liked Weasel and thought he was adorable, and I was like,
Yes.
no,
This
but
was far
yeah.
more entertaining than the other Suicide Squad movie
Absolutely.
was.
I think uh, I think James Gunn understands these characters in a way that only like Taika Waititi or like Zack Snyder. I mean, they all those people understand superheroes at least to some degree in some facet. Like Zack Snyder's very narrow view of superheroes, which is fine. You know, nothing wrong with that. Because they're all fine depictions, except for the Dark Superman. I'll keep mentioning until the day I die. It's so weird. He's like this grim, brooding character, and it's like, why is he emo? I'm so confused. It's emo man. I say that, I like emo music, but still.
I
Um,
like the way the characters in this movie play off one another. Um,
oh, absolutely. Oh, the banter, the fucking banter.
oh, I know who Groot is in this fucking movie. It's the shark, of course. It's King Shark.
Right, but he's with the other group. But yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so in a lot of ways, it does absolutely feel like that, and I think that's probably the way it came across to a lot of people, um, as a kind of Guardians of the Galaxy esque kind of movie,
well, I
but
think I
made for
gather
DC,
that's kind of his style,
and
but like,
that's
yeah,
that's. I'm not
yeah,
saying that's a bad thing.
yeah.
I'm
I know.
saying I think people will like that about it. I
Hmm.
think people probably did like that about it. I do think it's funny that people are trying to say that because it's not making as much money as other movies have
Oh
made this year
God.
that it's failing, and it's like, oh my god, these are clearly fucking, it's impossible to judge a movie as a failure of or a success during a fucking pandemic, because how the fuck are you supposed to know how well it would have done otherwise? Like, this movie came out right when the Delta variant was coming out, right? And it's just like, fucking hell. Nobody's going out to the fucking theater because of the Delta variant. So, of course, it's not going to make as much money in theaters right now. You
Yeah,
dumb fucks.
we're
The,
still in a
the only thing,
pandemic.
the only thing that matters
Washington's
right
going back to
now,
required mask use, for God's sake.
yeah,
You
the only
know,
thing that matters
state
right
we both
now
live in.
in terms of uh, a movie, you can't judge it by how much money it's making, is what I'm
Right.
saying. Because you can't, that doesn't tell you anything about it right now, because we're not in a situation where there's nothing impacting how or where you would get money, make money from a fucking movie,
Here's where
you
we all
know?
should just agree that box office budget or rating scores or whatever all that nonsense is bullshit. It was a
Yeah,
really terrible idea for Hollywood in general to base successes on films on money made versus audience reactions.
yeah. Because what ends up happening is that even if a movie does poorly, sometimes it becomes a cult classic
Every
and ends up
movie,
making lots of money anyways.
every movie John Carpenter ever made, yes.
Yeah. So,
And
in
the
this
and the
case,
studios fucked him for every year of that too. They never fucking paid him for most of those movies.
I don't feel like many people were. I get the sense that a lot of people either did not know this movie was going to be coming out right now, or didn't know this
Like
movie was being made in
I
the
had no
first
idea it was
place.
coming out until it was like a week before. It's like, oh, it's coming out already. Shit, awesome! I'm looking forward to it. But
And
yeah,
yeah, and
mm-hmm.
because of that, that's probably one reason people haven't gotten around to seeing it yet, because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, they don't know about it because it wasn't necessarily I wouldn't say accurately, but it wasn't necessarily advertised uh, as well as other movies might have been. I was interested in seeing it because of the advertising, But the advertising might have fallen flat for other audiences. They might not have realized what this was, or who was behind it, or what's going on with this movie.
Like I just really,
There's
I just
there's
really
probably
want.
confusion over Suicide Squad that came out a few years ago and the Suicide Squad, right? So
Maybe they should have given it a different title, but what are you gonna do about it?
yeah,
Okay,
I think eventually it's going to find its audience. Just
so
like because it's just so entertaining. It's
the
so fun.
Idris Elba and Peacekeeper's constant barbs at each other is like a nice spine in the film that just drives a lot of
Yes.
tension through the whole movie. It's just, and there's a callback one person makes, another person executes. Uh, from here to like between the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie, and I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil that major plot point. I will say that they talk about Polka Dot Man's like powers come from a intergalactic or interdimensional virus, like an STD, and so when they reveal the villain Starro, you think, oh, either Starro's gonna attach himself to him, or he's gonna shoot stars at Starro and he's gonna get infected with the virus or something, right? That's what it feels like that plan to pay off. I don't think there was ever a payoff to that bit of information. There doesn't necessarily have to be, but I just thought that was interesting. That I feel like they were at least at one point during the script probably heading that way. I would think. What they did do was cool, uh, and that's what it feels like to me. It feels like that's what happened, and then there's a studio they wanted to make the person who did do the final blow do the final blow. Because she's one of the money makers of the movie.
Mm.
But yeah, I not to I don't know. Maybe that's not true. Maybe James Gunn chose to do that on purpose, and that's just a backstory. But it just feels like they were setting that intergalactic or interdimensional STD up as a thing to get rid of Starro. They didn't, and it was a good movie all around. I actually look Nanoe. I can't say his fucking name right. I'm sorry. King Shark. He is my new favorite character. I want him to have his own movie. I want Idris Elba's a Bloodsport and Peacemaker to have their own movie. Yes, I know there's a Peacemaker TV series coming out or a mini series coming out. You're damn right. We'll be watching that because holy fucking shit, I loved Peacemaker. He's hilarious and he's perfect. Perfect. He's perfect. He's not the original character. He's definitely a new take on the character, but he's perfect. He's because like Peacemaker is like the Punisher if the Punisher and Captain America were merged. All right, so he's like a super soldier type deal. Well, not a super soldier, but he's just a costume guy who's like a patriotic hero, psychopath wanting to kill anybody for his country. Basically, is a more modern take on it. It's actually influenced by the comedian who is originally supposed to be the Peacemaker, by the way. So
Oh
Peacemaker was
wow!
supposed to be a comedian. And the comedian
Wow!
influenced the
Oh
new
my god!
Peacemaker. Isn't that beautiful?
That makes sense. That
Yeah,
all makes sense now.
because
Yeah.
the original Watchmen were Charlton characters. So it was Owlman, or it was not Owlman. It was Blue Beetle was gonna be Owlman and or yeah Owlman and then Night Owl. Excuse me, and then Peacemaker was the comedian. The question was Rorschach. I don't remember the rest of the analogs, but there's a bunch of other analogs from the six Watchmen, or where it's 8 Watchmen, 6 Watchmen, and are analogs of 6 Carlton heroes that DC had recently acquired when they did Watchmen, but DC got cold feet and had him make his own characters. So they're all heavily inspired by those characters. But the portrayal of the comedian is a much darker version of the Peacemaker, where he's like willing to do anything for his fucking country. He's that patriotic. And then the Peacemaker is that. He's a comedian, but as it's like it comes full circle and it's beautiful. I just fucking love the character. It was like perfect. It's a perfect evolution of this character, and I don't think anyone's gonna catch that except nerds like me. There's been like 5 people who knows that whole lineage, because the Peacemaker is a much more straight-laced character in the comics. You know, he's much more Captain America and less Deadpool, and this is more Deadpool than Captain
He's
America
the just
personality-wise.
following orders guy.
Yeah,
and showing you why that's not necessarily a good thing.
and the comedian's a critique on that character archetype, the just following orders type. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
Peacemaker is just heavily inspired by the comedian, whether intentional or not. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it's intentional. James Gunn's a smart guy. He's probably read comics, probably a lot of them. He's a nerd like the rest of us. But yeah, I fucking adored Suicide Squad. Ratcatcher is like immediately incredibly likable. She's such a great character.
Mm-hmm.
Not Violet Davis. What's her name? It's yeah, Daniela Melchior. I don't know how to say her name. Daniela. She's a wonderful actress, by the way. I really liked her character. Peter Capaldi. Yeah, he was a thinker. This is a star-studded cast.
Mm-hmm.
So good. Sorry, you have
They
thoughts.
have a
I've been
doctor
rambling.
in here. Doctor Who.
Sorry, I've been
There's a
rambling.
Doctor Who.
I've been rambling for 15 minutes. Is there some stuff you wanted to actually say about this movie?
You pretty much said it all.
I'm sorry.
Um, I really like Polka Dot Man. I related to him on many levels.
Yes, I can. Yes.
But I also like because it's like his illness. What he's capable of is not something that you would expect, right? It's like, wait, what? And then you see it's like, oh, holy shit, you know?
And it, like, I mean, he fucking melts the guy. Like, it's disgusting. The thing about this movie is it's incredibly violent. So this is what if James Gunn had full reign, that's what Guardians of the Galaxy would have been. They're incredibly violent like that. Guardians of the Galaxy already pushes the edge of PG-13 for Marvel as it is, and DC just said, "Here, have at it," and he made daddies, mommies, their parents, whatever gender your parent is, they're made their fucking suicides or their Guardians of the Galaxy basically. But it's different too. It's its own thing. But there's analogs, you can tell.
But I do think it's telling they knew exactly what they were doing with King Shark
Oh,
because
he's so good.
if you look at the action figure line,
Burb. Sorry. Burb. That's what he says into the micro thing. Do you see anything, Shark? Burb.
if you look at the action figure line based on the movie, they have they're doing what they do with all the other fucking comic book character action figure lines where there's a certain character that if you want to have the whole character you have to get all four of the other variants to get. Guess who that character is? It's King Shark. If you want to get King Shark, you have to buy all four other
That
fucking
figure's been out for a
action
while.
figures.
I think. The Build-A-Figure. There's a previous Build-A-Figure at least of King Shark, I think.
Well, anyways,
Doesn't
I just saw this one, and it's like, oh yeah, they know that he's going to be like the big popular one, and there's a reason, because he's probably one of the most, endearing, funny characters in the movie, off-putting, enjoyable. I do like there was only one being that was capable of doing any damage to King Shark.
Yeah, it was an alien suckerfish or whatever.
Wasn't what you would think it would be, though.
Great moment when he's in the aquarium with that though. It's like he truly experiences joy, and you're just like like this moment of pure joy from him. Like I had a smile on my face, like uncontrollable smile. It was wonderful, so good.
Yes.
I loved every aspect of this movie. Like it was so good. Probably gonna watch it again a lot.
It was extremely entertaining. I can't wait to get it on Blu-ray and own it, and not have to worry about blacks getting crushed.
Yeah.
And I mean that in terms of like the colors of the film.
Yeah.
Anything racial. Jesus Christ.
We did almost 2 hours.
Yeah. Oh, the Suicide Squad, 8 out of 10.
9 out of 10. With art, and it hearted it too. It's so good, and I so love Nanoe so much. Hey, I said it right. I really really want like a miniseries, a cartoon, something of him. I just want where he's trying to do good, but he's himself, and sometimes he eats the wrong people. Gets a little overzealous. Yeah, I just think that would be really fun. Him and like Ratcatcher, and they're just trying to make it in the world or whatever. Anyway, any last words, my friend?
Nope. See the Suicide Squad. It's great. Don't listen to the haters telling you, "Oh, it didn't make much money, so people must not like it. So it must be bad." Don't listen to those fucking idiots.
That is just such a bad take. I hate takes like that. Like reductive. Like it's bad. Why? I didn't like it. So okay, why didn't you like it? And then they'll say something about the writing, and like, okay, what do you mean the writing was bad? Can you like elaborate at all? Like, no, no, and it's like I understand, and you don't need to be like I've always said, you don't need to go to school to learn this shit, but you do got to read a fucking book, or at least listen to a book on tape, or listen to watch a lecture on YouTube. You have to like do some sort of research outside just watching movies.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. I mean, whatever it is, you just yeah. Anyway, I love movies. I'll talk to movies all the time. I hope to see you all here next week for probably some random shit I'm gonna play. And the week after that, another episode of Couch Tomatoes Movie Chat, 8 p.m. Pacific. Take it easy, everyone. Bye. I'm on the wrong
Bye.
screen. There we go.